Well, good morning, Christ Central. And today we have Luke 7, 1 to 10. And it goes like this. When Jesus had finished saying all this, in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. There a centurion's servant, who his master valued highly, was sick and about to die. And the centurion heard of Jesus and sent some elders of the Jews to him, asking him to come and heal his servant. And when they came to Jesus, they pleaded earnestly with him, "This man deserves to have you do this, because he loves our nation and built our synagogue." So Jesus went with them. He was not far from the house when the centurion sent friends to him, saying, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I do not deserve you to come under my roof. That is why I did not even consider myself worthy to come to you. But say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, 'Go,' and he goes, and that one, 'Come,' and he comes. I say to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him, and turning to the crowd following, he said, "I tell you, I have not found such great faith even in Israel." Then the men who had been sent returned to the house and found the servant well. Okay, so imagine it's around 20 years ago, the height of the American occupation of Afghanistan. And at its height, quite a senior American soldier, say a major, is out of patrol in an Afghan village in the middle of nowhere. One of his soldiers is very ill, but instead of going back to base and making use of the extensive medical facilities there, he knows that there is a holy man in the village who can heal people. So he sends one of his men to the village elders and, with complete confidence, asks them if they would consider talking to the holy man to get his soldier healed. And he's got so much confidence that he doesn't even need to go and see this sage. All he needs to know is that he is willing to heal. And I sort of tell it that way because that's how topsy-turvy this story is. A representative from the superpower of the day, the most powerful and advanced state on earth at the time, turns up in a village in the least pleasant part of the empire, a weird backward place where the people have barbaric customs and weird beliefs and keep on revolting, and asks for help from a relatively unknown holy man. And he has full expectation that the holy man can do the job. His only worry is that he won't want to because he's a Roman citizen, he's not a Jew. Now, Luke had many, many stories to tell about Jesus, and he must have been very selective about what he put in his gospel. And I think he chose this one for a reason. He's saying that this Jesus may look like a nobody. He may look like a bloke on a mountainside in Hicksville telling strange stories. But in actual fact, he has more power and authority than anyone else in the world. And in time, all power and all authorities will bow the knee before him. And this centurion is particularly quick on the uptake and first in the queue. Even when Luke was writing this story, a few decades after Jesus' death and resurrection, that would have seemed wildly optimistic. And then we went through a time when it seemed inevitable. Christianity became the dominant spiritual and intellectual force in the Western world, and it just seemed like an obvious thing. Now maybe it seems more like it's wildly optimistic again. So what can this story tell us today? When I read it through first, I was struck by the centurion's humility. He says, "Jesus, don't trouble yourself. I don't deserve to be under your roof." And I thought, compared with that humility, often I have a massive sense of entitlement. Maybe it comes from our culture. Maybe it comes partly from a church tradition that emphasizes God as provider and friendship with Jesus. But I can easily find myself in a mindset which expects Jesus to supply all my desires: a fulfilling and well-paid job, a relationship with a woman who's far more beautiful than I am handsome, nice house, plenty of friends, the amazing ability to avoid pain and suffering, etc., etc. And I can expect Jesus to be at my side throughout my life, guiding me to success. And then get very cross with him when that doesn't happen. Now, that is not the Jesus deal. If we thought it was, we've been misinformed. And maybe we should approach Jesus with more humility and more like this centurion, with an understanding that, as the C of E communion service puts it, we are not worthy so much to gather up the crumbs under your table. Now, you can take this too far and not have enough self-worth, but I think balance is needed in all things. And in our culture, I think the problem of a sense of entitlement is probably a bigger issue. And also, and importantly, our sense of self-worth should be something we receive with gratitude from Jesus because of what he has done, not because it is something we are entitled to on our own merits. And we can also remember that Jesus has all authority and power, even if it doesn't look like it. At present, in Ukraine, it looks as if all authority and power lie with the tanks and shells of the Russian army. Faced with this disaster, the church and the message of Jesus looks completely powerless and almost irrelevant. But I think that once the Russian army has packed up and gone home from Ukraine, as eventually they will, the church and the message of Jesus will still be there in some form. At the end of the 5th century, St. Augustine was sitting in the city of Hippo, and a barbarian army was in its walls. I think they were Visigoths, but to be honest, I can't remember. And it was like his whole world was falling apart. The Roman Empire, this thing that had guaranteed peace and security for centuries, was crumbling. And it was like the bottom was falling out of everyone's worlds. And he had a vision and a book that he wrote called The City of God, where he saw beyond this world and its current relationships with power and war, and saw a new future, a city of God where the church became separated from the state and had power and authority in its own terms. And that's what got the church through the very traumatic medieval period. So this sort of stuff has happened before, and the church has coped with it and adapted and become stronger. And that's all I have for you.